Thanks, Chairman, and can I welcome Mr. Fitzgerald, and I do agree with the words of thanks that were made already to the other retiring members, both of the board and the CEO, and the work that they've done. I suppose just as an initial comment from the part of the world that I represent, you know it well, Mr. Fitzgerald, the National Transport Authority, for the National Transport Authority to be what it says on the tin, I actually believe that it should also encompass roads. And the reason that is that I don't ever believe that you're going to get an integrated transport network in Ireland while you have an agency responsible for roads, an agency responsible for local roads, namely the local authority, and yourselves responsible for practically everything that goes on within Dublin, and the public transport infrastructure. I think while there has been an effort made to merge the NP, the National Rail, or the Rail Procurement Agency, with the National Roads Authority, I'm not looking for your opinion, it's just something that you might refer to. I actually think that the National Transport Authority should be what it says on the tin. It should be responsible for all elements of transport, and that shouldn't just be those that's inside the M50, that by and large it covers at the moment. But in relation to those that are outside the M50, I want to, first of all, can I compliment your taxi subcommittee and your taxi and Hackney subcommittee chaired by Pat Byrne. And I met them recently in relation to an issue that the members of the committee will be blue in the face from hearing me about. But from the part of the world that you originate from, if you were to apply for a Hackney licence at the moment in Anglesborough, you would be expected to know on what street in Glynn is the post office, or in what street in Fines where in Fines is Mount Trenchard. And a person collecting a Hackney fare in Anglesborough or Kilbeheny or Ballyfaskin or Ballylanders or anywhere over that country would probably need to know more about Mitchelstown or Cahir or Tipperary Town than they would have to know about Abbeyfeale or Atay. And it has gone on now, Chairman, I'd say 3 years, since I started bringing this up. And my jaws are worn now at this stage. And no one, with the exception, to be fair, the Hackney and Taxi Committee met me and they listened to what I had to say, and I know they're going to make their own deliberations on it. But it just does not, it still fails to bamboozle me that a person below in Goleen in West Cork is expected to know where the AIB in Mitchelstown is, all because it happens to be in the one county. And that sort of ludicrous situation. If you could do anything else in the next 2.5 years that you're there, will you please try and get rid of that system that assesses people in rural areas to deliver a public service based on this notional thing that we were left with by the British called a county. Because if you're from Deputy O'Mahony's part of the world, near the town of Ballahaddereen in East Mayo and the Roscommon border, you will be asked about Belmullet and Killala and down into Cong and places like that you probably will never go to. But you'll never be asked about the neighbouring parish at the other side of the river in County Roscommon, and it bears, it's something that's really, really beginning to grate on me now. Just in relation to, you mentioned heavy rail, and Limerick is by far and away the best fed city in Ireland in terms of rail. We have a connection to Galway, Nina, Tipperary, through the junction, and out into Fines. And the two lines that I believe are, both have potential is, first of all, the Fines line in relation to freight. It's the deepest port in the country, and again, going back to all transport coming in under your remit, I think, the element of your relationship with ports is something that you might look at. But there's a rail corridor into the Port of Fines at the moment, and it would be fantastic if we could get to a stage where it's reopened for freight, because the possibilities in relation to ore being extracted, bulk meal, bulk fertilisers coming in, not to mention exports, bulk exports going out. There is a fantastic opportunity there, and I know that Éireann Rodairn are looking at it, but maybe it might be something that you might comment on. And the other rail line coming into Limerick then, which has been kind of lampooned by some elements of the media, is the Galway to Limerick railway line, which has speed restrictions on it still after massive capital investment. And it's a nice journey, but you wouldn't want to be in a hurry. And with the result that the bus from Galway now will get you to Limerick faster. And that wasn't the concept in the original concept. The original concept was to link Limerick to Sligo through Athenry and up into the west of Ireland through Mayo. The very fact that we have these speed restrictions now and the line is flooded on certain times of the year means that the possibility of a government being attracted to invest in the West of Ireland rail corridor to link Sligo down to Limerick and on to Cork, that is reduced considerably because of the speed restriction that continues to be maintained between Limerick and Athenry. And maybe you might refer to that as well. And just one final thing, I suppose. I know that all politics is local and all transport is local as well, but there has been a very, I suppose, significant investment in relation to cycling, in relation to the city centres and the bike rental schemes and that. But in parallel to that, then we have across the country a network of greenways whose focus really has been on the tourism element and the tourism kind of package that's on offer and the recreational use. Do you envisage any relationship there in terms of the development of cycling into the future with those greenways? And are you happy as the National Transport Authority that the bike to work scheme is actually a bike to work scheme? You might comment on those things.
In terms of the tax efficiency of it, or the bike to work scheme?
Yeah.
It's hugely successful, actually. It's very, very successful. Probably one of the most successful measures that's been undertaken. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but it's huge and it's growing. The green routes, well, our priority is to get people onto bikes in towns and cities largely. I was down on the green route myself in Mayo not so long ago, walking on it, and it's too successful as far as cyclists are concerned because you can't walk on it. So many cyclists on it. But while we're conscious of the success of it, but our priority is to get people out of cars and onto bikes or walk in towns and cities as much as we possibly can. The rail routes that you mentioned, there is a real issue there. You're right in what you're saying. I'm familiar with the fines one as well, and I'll have a look at that. I'm not sure there's an issue there about the usage of it, but I'll have a look at it anyway. But you're right about the corridor.
The investment that would be
required. Yeah. Okay. The corridor that you mentioned, the rail review that I talked about a few minutes ago, is a job of work that we're doing along with CIE. It's not just CIE doing it, it's us. We have people in there working with them. And we're looking very hard, CIE, not CIE, but Iarn Road Éireann, I should say. Iarn Road Éireann got into real trouble last year in terms of the amount of money that's available to them in relation to the job of work that they're expected to do. Some of the rail lines are sometimes heavily oversubscribed, but some of them are heavily underutilised. And if you just looked at the money end of it, the economics of it, there probably are a number of railway lines where you'd say that they shouldn't be there anymore. But we are very conscious of the social aspects of those lines. We're conscious also, as you say, of the potential tourist revenues that might flow from those if they're developed in that kind of way as well. There's a line from Waterford to Limerick, which is heavily underutilised. But at the same time, there's value in the route. So the job that we're doing with CIE is absolutely what you were talking about, which is to look at the railway network, to look at the cost of running that network, and what's required to keep it running as it is, and on the assumption that you want or you can afford to keep it all running as it is. Like there are lines, as said, that are so heavily underutilised that they can't cost justify themselves anymore. Couldn't. But they can. The objective is to try to make them cost justify themselves. The licences, again, I wasn't aware of that issue, the rural licences, but I think you're being successful in terms of the fact that you keep on raising it, because it has come certainly to my consciousness in more recent times, and it has been talked about. We have been talking to the Taxi Advisory Group about it. I know you have too, as you said. And we have talked a lot about it amongst ourselves. Now, our own systems were probably not the best in terms of how to deal with it up to now. They are a lot better now than they were. And it is something that I'll keep a close eye on myself, because I know the issues that are involved extremely well. The NRA and ourselves, I think if you had Fred Barry here from the NRA, he'd probably be telling you that they should take us over
And I'm sure if we had the RPA here, they'd say they had
they'd probably say the same, yeah. My own view on that is that, if government asked us to take on that function, being good public servants, we'll probably say, yeah, sure, we will. But my own view is that if something's working, if it's not broken, then there's no reason to fix it.
No, I suppose the question that I have is, do you believe that in order to form a proper integrated transport system, that road, rail, bus, air, the whole lot should be under one group?
I don't really. I think if you try to bolt the NRA and all that involves onto the NTA ourselves, I think you reach kind of a critical mass where it falls over itself. There is a critical mass in all these things. And I think you have to trust the system. In this case, me working with Fred Barry and his people. We meet them all the time, we talk to them all the time, we have a very good working relationship with them. And I have never yet come across any issue where I couldn't sit down and come up with a solution to it. So my attitude would be that they're working fine, they've done a good job. I think we've done a good job. And we're close enough to each other and know each other well enough to be able to sort out any issues that might come up. So I'd be inclined to leave well enough alone.